We are doing Batman Returns 1992 with my man Michael Keaton. I got my man Mr. Will with the heart of this. And I just want to spend some time really talking about this because I'm trying to figure out, I have some ideas about why there's so much of it in it, but I did not remember seeing this when I was young.
Well, before we even get to that, man, I think it's
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, people of all ages, welcome back to the Sticky Floors podcast. I am one of your hosts, CJ. I am joined by Mr. Will. We are continuing with our holiday season films or Christmas films or movies at Christmas time or movies with a Christmas tree in the background. That's what we are right now. Tonight, we are doing Batman Returns 1992 with my man Michael Keaton. I got my man Mr. Will with the holiday hat on. Mr. Will, what's going on with you, sir?
season. Hanukkah just jumped off earlier in the week.
Mm-hmm.
We got Kwanzaa coming up,
Mm-hmm.
obviously Christmas, and then of course closing out the new year with New Year's Eve and such.
There it
So
is.
I'm trying to keep it festive, man.
Yeah, so the streets are saying that the next episode you're gonna have a whole Santa Claus suit on, man. Is this true? What is that gonna happen or not? Because I see you slowly building to it. First you had the hat, now you got the red and white sweater joint on with the shirt. Is it next you got the black belt buckle? What's going on, man?
Nah, man, I'm just trying to keep it a little low key, festive, but not too much. That would be doing a lot, as my kids would say.
Got it. Well, yeah, no, we definitely keeping it festive. If this is your first time on the show, we talk about movies that have been in theaters for a long time. We talk about movies that are out recently. Tonight, we're talking about starring Michael Keaton as Batman. I know there's many people that have been Batman. We'll probably talk a little bit about that as we go through this. But let me kick it over to Mr. Will with the summary so we can get into Batman Returns.
Yeah, and to CJ's point, no, we definitely got to talk about the Batman,
Mm-hmm.
various actors who played Returns. Bruce Wayne, this time portrayed by Michael Keaton, continues his role as Gotham's protector while facing new and dangerous adversaries. The story introduces Oswald Copperpot, aka Penguin, sometimes known as the Penguin, played Danny DeVito, a disfigured man abandoned as a child who resurfaces seeking acceptance and political power. With the backing of a corrupt businessman known as Max Schreck, played by Christopher Walken,
Mm-hmm.
Penguin manipulates the public opinion to gain influence in Gotham. Batman works to uncover his true intentions while protecting the city from escalating chaos. Simultaneously, the audience is introduced to Selena Kyle, played by Michelle Pfeiffer,
Meow.
Shrek's timid secretary, who's transformed into Catwoman after a traumatic betrayal. Her emergence as a morally conflicted antihero complicates Batman's mission and his personal feelings. As Catwoman, Penguin, and Batman clash, their hidden identities and motivations are gradually revealed. The film concludes with Gotham saved once again, but with its heroes and villains forever changed by their struggles.
There it is. There it is. Yo, so man, first and foremost, I saw this as a child, right? I remember
Yeah.
going to the theaters. My friend's dad took us to the movies. I watched this, and I have to say that when I was younger, this was probably my least favorite of all the
Really?
Batman movies. Well, no, actually, Batman and Robin was horrible. Even I thought that
Mm-hmm.
even when I was a kid, but I did not like this movie as much as I liked it when I went back and watched it this time. And we're gonna see why I liked it more. But
Hmm.
this was like when I first probably was watching these movies, I always liked Batman Forever more as far as this one before we get to the Christopher
Yeah.
Nolan joints and everything like that. But this was like that was like probably my favorite one because I just like Val Kilmer's Batman. Like he was younger, he seemed more cool, more energetic in his fighting style and everything. But now when I go back, I find a lot of appreciation for what Tim Burton was trying to do with this one.
I am conflicted, man.
Me too.
93,
Yep.
so like teenager, a little bit younger. Um, I was like early.
Hmm.
I might have been like, so I'm very impressionable, like just with the fact that they got a Batman movie.
Yep.
You know what
Of
I mean? Like
course.
that's it. Our age group, age bracket, like came out during the time when we were young. I'm not talking about the serials from like the 1940s,
Hmm.
30s, 50s, whatever, because ain't nobody trying to see no black and white joint
Hmm.
and a corny costume and everything. But once this dropped, it was like, oh wow, okay, we got a Batman movie.
Yep.
After years of no Batman movies, and the only movie I could think of that was out was any of the Superman movies.
Mm-hmm.
So from that standpoint, I was very ecstatic.
Mm-hmm.
But once it actually hit the screen, I'm like, that's not the Penguin I envisioned. The Penguin was like, wah, 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 wah. And some of that is
Yeah, he
indeed from
does.
the
Yeah, he does.
60s,
He does. Yeah.
but like it's not the same. Where's the top hat and the spectacle
Mm-hmm.
and the umbrellas? And then you see the umbrellas and like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not the umbrella I'm expecting. And he's over here eating raw fish
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
blood and
Yep.
I'm like, come on, man, like this is buffoonery. And then I'm like, all right, wait, that's Batman's uniform. Wait, that's the Batmobile. And even now, rewatching as an adult, and you see the CGI
Mm-hmm.
with the shell that comes out, I'm like, that's whack, man. So like, there's certain things where I'm just like, eh.
So you didn't.
But
So you didn't like that. You didn't like. You didn't like Michael Keaton's Batman.
oh no.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I give credit where he in the first movie he did an admirable job,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just not what I envisioned Bruce Wayne Batman to look.
Okay.
I think Michael Keaton is like what 5'10", maybe 5'11". I know he can't be 6 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Batman is portrayed as 6'4", 220, 230. Like Michael Keaton, it may be 200 on a good day.
I don't
You know
even
what I'm
think he's
saying?
200 pounds. To be honest
But that's my
with you,
point. Like,
not even on
I'm trying
camera.
to give him
Not even.
credit because the TV, the movie screen, TV screen
Right.
adds
Yeah.
on weight.
50. Even with the 15
Yeah,
from the screen, I
and
would
I'm
give.
just like, yeah, nah. Hairline receding. I'm like, come on, man. Batman's supposed to be
It's a
like,
different version. It is. It is.
uh, yeah, that must be like negative Earth, whatever. Then, like, because even in hind, like, I never got into it, and to each his own. You know what I mean? Like, you like what you like, whatever have you. But like you, once there was a progression of different Batman, different styles,
Mm-hmm.
different stories. I really did like the Val Kilmer version, and I was kind of perturbed that he didn't come
So
back
did I.
in the
Yeah. I
sequel.
wanted to see him
You
come
know,
back in the next one. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was really surprised by that. I didn't really like the George Clooney
No,
series.
neither
I was
did I.
just like,
Mm-mm.
and that's not to say George Clooney isn't a good actor. He's
Mm.
a hell of an
Yeah.
actor, but I just didn't think that they did him justice by giving him this material to be Batman.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah. It was.
I
Yeah.
digress.
I think the thing about them, like, as you gotten older and I've watched more movies, I realized, like you were saying about George Clooney, how little George Clooney had to work with in terms of
Yeah,
material, right? Obviously, you
straight
said
rough.
great actor, and I gotta say, I enjoyed seeing him in like the end of the Flash joint, right? And
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
like,
no,
he
where
really
he could redeem
embodied like the
himself.
old Bruce Wayne kind of thing.
Yeah,
And Michael Keaton as an old Batman, old like Batman Returns
that would have been good
kind of
too.
Batman was perfect too. So, I mean, one of the things about this, and I know we'll talk about a little bit later, is this film has kind of aged well, right?
Yeah,
But one of the things that's very interesting to me about it is how when I was younger and I watched it, I didn't notice all of the extreme sexual innuendo that is a part of this. And like, I just want to spend some time really talking about this because, like, I'm trying to figure out, like, I have some ideas about why there's so much of it in it, but I did not remember seeing this when I was young, man.
well, before we even get to that, man, I think it's incumbent upon us to try and get across as far as like their personalities. So for me, Cobblepot like kind of imbues like the whole tragic fear figure who's abandoned, who his whole life is
Hmm.
based upon pain
Hmm.
and survival, looking for legitimacy.
Hmm.
He comes from this very prestige, wealthy family, but he's shunned and abandoned due to
Hmm.
just basically crudely speaking, he looks like garbage.
Hmm.
And his parents were like, "Yo, these deformities, we can't rock with it."
And he
So
ate
they
their
just
cat.
basically, well, that too. But I think that is intentionally done by the director, by the writer to kind of accentuate his
Yeah.
grotesque behavior.
Hmm.
Because no baby is eating a damn cat,
Yeah.
man. Like, look,
Well, he's penguin baby, but yeah, I got
he comes from them.
you.
So what does that say about them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah. They had a penguin baby. That's,
Now he's the spawn of Satan, just eating cats,
yeah.
and penguins don't eat cats.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, people don't have
Like,
penguin
come on,
babies,
what are we
but
talking about?
yeah,
That's why,
but go
like,
ahead though. Go ahead.
but that's why I'm saying a lot of that makes me go left. But then with respect to Selena Kyle, we're talking about a woman who literally embraces her womanhood. She grasps her sexuality by the throat. Forget like, easing into it. There's no subtlety to it whatsoever. They intentionally make her timid as a church mouse, the
Mm-hmm.
way she dresses, the way she walks, talks,
Mm-hmm.
breathes, even her home.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally once she had this transformation, albeit due to essentially being groped and harassed and a sexual advancement made to her by her employer, who pushes her out of a, what is it, 10-story
Yeah, he
window.
pushed her to her death. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So, automatically she comes back reinvigorated to assert herself. She's no longer rigid like Batman, no longer self-control or expected to be, what society deems as an acceptable woman. And like I said, with respect to Batman, here's a guy who is still haunted from his childhood. He's still that little boy at 8 years old in the alley trying to find or prevent someone else having to endure that. So then when we transition to the sexuality of this, we have a bunch of individuals who are either oppressed or who are trying to exert their sexuality in a numerous amounts of ways where it's a part of their character, a part of who they are.
Yeah. So, all right. So, I like how you characterize all three of them, because I'm gonna look at it from the lens of like how each of those characters kind of approaches the sex part.
Mm-hmm.
So, like with the Penguin's character, the Penguin is like visibly not attractive, right?
No.
So he's different from Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle in that people are generally repulsed by him, right? But then on top of that, he's got a repulsive personality, right? On top
Mm-hmm.
of that, but then he's also so outwardly aggressively sexual, like when he fondles the young girl who's like wants to
Putting the
be,
pin on her.
yeah, that wants to be a part of his campaign, or even like the way that he's going at Catwoman, like he's kicking like all the sewer game in the world to her,
Okay.
trying to get it. Like he's like a guy in a bar at 1:30 on a Wednesday night who's had like five Jägermeisters and is like saying anything he possibly can, right? But he's like very aggressive in his like sexual thing, and yet he doesn't get anything. The whole movie, like there's no scene where they walk upstairs in the Cobblepot's room and he's in there with the monkey lady, the lady with the little joint, or the dog lady. Sorry, dog lady, not monkey lady. Dog, no disrespect, the dog lady, right? So it's like his character is like really like, yo, I'm on this, I'm about this, I want this, I can taste it, but he never gets it, right? He's very repressed in it, and I just think it's that character. Now I'm gonna pause there. We talk about Catwoman and Batman in a second. What you think about that?
The thing that I find so unique in the Peg Trail is, one, his home, his domicile is in a tunnel.
Yep.
It's in the sewer.
Mm-hmm.
So if you draw the comparison of the physical anatomy of what goes on,
No doubt. Thank you. I'm there
you
with you.
you
I'm there
you
with you.
see what's
Yep.
going on with him.
Yep.
He has a family who resides with him
Mm-hmm.
in the sewers.
Yep.
And the family he has is one of, it's not Norman Rockwellish,
Mm.
but they do have Victorians
Yeah.
and things of like that. And if you study history, or if you're a student of history, you'll know that the Victorian age was a very repressed sexually
You
entity
tapping in
itself
now. You
in
tapping.
itself.
Okay, there it is.
So, you see the one who kind of embodies that. They don't give her a name, but she's the one who's dressed in the very frilly laces. She has
Yeah.
blonde hair.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
and she has the dog with. I wouldn't call her the dog lady,
Yeah.
but
Ice
she,
Princess. Ice Princess.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the name. They give her a name.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, you would think that he would try and holler at her
But he
or the
does it,
other.
right? Yeah. And right. She right there with him. Right.
And
Right.
she wants to be. She submits to him.
Right.
She's very feminine to
Right.
him.
He
You know what I
didn't
mean?
want
Like,
that. No.
she allows him to exert his so-called dominance. So,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because he looks at her as a daughter
Mm-hmm.
type figure or sister or whatever have you. But there was someone there who could have developed romantic feelings for him because she was attracted to the inner version of him, which only speaks to, we want what we can't
Yeah, I
have,
love where
and
you're
that we
going right
don't
now.
love the person that loves us,
Mm-hmm.
which is what we should be doing.
Yeah.
And simultaneously with him, you see someone who's eating fish all the time, a so-called aphrodisiac.
Mm-hmm.
You see someone who is very gruff and who is
Yeah.
supposedly very manly
Mm-hmm.
in his approach, in his style, but there's no grace. there's no savoir-faire, there's no charm.
Hmm.
He's not debonair whatsoever. So, those things lend itself to what it truly means to be a heterosexual male who's in pursuit of pursuing a long-lasting, loving, nurturing, healthy, respectable relationship. And he is the antithesis of it,
Yeah.
and done so deliberately.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and that's a perfect. What you said about the Ice Princess is a perfect segue into like the Catwoman character. So,
Oh.
so the Catwoman character is interesting to me. Like, I remember watching, like I said, when I was young, and I was like, oh, Michelle Pfeiffer, she looks
Hmm.
nice in the Catwoman outfit and everything. But you said something about her,
Shout out to Scarface Origins.
right? How about that? But you said something about like her thing, like her home is like a child's home.
Hmm.
Like all the dolls that she has is like Princess Pink and everything. And then at window and she comes back, it's like she comes back as like I'm gonna say a quote unquote like a real woman, right? She's not
Well,
a
one of the
she's not,
first things she does is spray paint the house, the
right.
the dollhouse black.
Everything is black now. Let me get this leather on. But the thing about her sexuality it's weaponized.
Hmm.
So her outfit is designed for men to see it, but they can't touch her. If you touch her, she's gonna stomp you, she's gonna electrocute you, she's gonna whip you. It's a very, I mean, like, yes, it's dominatrix and all that kind of stuff. And that's
Hmm.
kind of the easy thing. But the question is like, why is the character portrayed that way? Because like I was saying, like, Penguin is trying to get it. Like Penguin got oils, everything. He's out for business, right? But
Candles
then,
lit.
but then, right? She's got like this thing with Batman, Bruce Wayne. Every scene that Selena Kyle, Michelle Pfeiffer is in, she conveys this like very overt sexiness to her, and it works, right? Even from the hairstyle, the makeup, everything, the way that she talks, that's like also like you were saying like how the Ice Princess is like nice. She's not. And that also is like, I think for the audience, like, yeah, I know you want to you might want to live with the good girl, but you want to be out in the streets blowing stuff up with the bad girl. And she like just embraces that. But once again, no sex is happening. Like she's like in it, she's available, but nothing's going on, man. So what you think about like the Catwoman thing in this, man?
I think that's done deliberately too. Like
Absolutely, no doubt.
her wardrobe is intentional. It's stylized, it's symbolic rather than just explicit or erotic content. You're talking about someone who has the fragmentation that's also representative onto her uniform. So
No
you
doubt.
see the outward stitching. So the same way she fell through glass, hit the pavement, came back reborn as something totally different. In fact, the total opposite. She did a 180 of who she was.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about someone who has very visible seams, not only on her costume, but herself. She even says to Bruce Wayne while they're dancing, look, I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
And she's laughing and crying simultaneously.
Yeah.
She has this very reconstructed identity where before she was this timid, silent, quiet,
Mm-hmm.
skittish secretary. And that was done deliberately too,
Yeah.
to speak to, hey, she's not an equal. Even when she tries to present her suggestion to a bunch of men in the room at the conference table,
Mm-hmm.
and that table is a circle, so it's supposed to speak to equality and equanimity. But in fact, it's quite the opposite. This is a dialogue between the guys in the old boys club, and she's standing there, and the first thing that Max says is, "We've yet to break her in yet."
Yeah. Yeah.
As if she's a stallion or some animal
Yeah.
that has to be house trained.
Mm-hmm.
And then also we're talking about, her coming out and communicating with confidence her defiance, how she is no longer being marginalized, and that she's reclaiming her agency.
Yeah.
And it's not just like with Batman in every scene or Michael Keaton in every scene where she makes the first move on the couch
Yeah.
or where she licks his
Yeah, I'm
face.
coming there. I'm
You're, t-
coming to that. Yep.
you're
Yep.
talking
I'm,
about
I'm gonna get
her
there. Yep.
you're talking about her exuding what it means at that time in 1992, 93, as far as what womanhood is. And you're talking about Madonna, who was in Dick Tracy, and she presents this whole thing of, no longer a virgin, no longer following it, adhering to Catholicism, which coincides with another system that deals in repression. You're not talking about someone like uh, uh, other famous women at that time, like Glenn Close in Coming Attraction, like all
Fatal
these
attraction.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fatal Attraction. Sorry, all these things are also within that movie.
Yeah.
They may not be overt. They may not be a direct connection, but there are influences that lead to Michelle Pfeiffer's casting, which lead to, as you pointed out to me, where you mentioned like, hey, she was supposed to be in the first one, but she wasn't.
As
She
Vicky
was going to
Vale,
star
yeah.
as Vicky Vale, however, who's a totally different character, which a lot of people, a lot of Batman enthusiasts seem to forget was like one of his first loves, and there was no Selena Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden now she's presented as Selena, which at that time he was trying to save his marriage. Now all of a
About
sudden
Michael
that's no
Keaton.
longer the case because he used to date her.
Yeah.
And now how art is now imitating life. And here's someone who at that time, I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer was playing all different types of femme fatales, sex symbols, whatever. Like she was known as the it female
Yeah.
at that time if you wanted in a movie.
Yeah, and I mean, she does great, and she does great. And, by the way, Danny DeVito, fantastic
Oh, well,
as
no,
Panda.
we're
Like
going to get to him. Yeah.
all three of these people, and Michael Keaton's Batman is also, you said about his relationship with Vicky Vale. Well, just like I said, just talking about strictly from like the sexual part of what you're seeing in the film. Okay, in the first Batman, him and Vicky Vale did actually get together, but in this
Mm-hmm.
one, he's got like these different opportunities. He never gets to Catwoman either. So it's
Yeah,
like,
but remember in Vicky Vale, they say, "Are we going to try to love each other?"
yeah,
So it's not sex just for recreational
right.
purposes or even just
True.
for
Good point.
populating the earth.
True. Good point.
This is more like, hey, this is an expression of our love. Whereas with Catwoman, this is just straight lust
Yeah.
and passion and wanting to let it all hang out,
Right. And that's the part.
literally and
That's the part
figuratively.
I am. I'm in that part. I'm not the romance. You're doing the romance. I'm not. That's not what I'm. That's not the part I'm trying to get to here. What I'm saying is like even in that, Catwoman is this very, you very like promotion of her sexuality character, right? And even Selena Kyle's the same way. And it's like Bruce Wayne and Batman still can't get to her. Like even in the end, the last scene that the second last, when they're in the party before everything
Yeah,
blows
yeah.
up in the duck, like she's like, "Yo, it's a California king upstairs. What's good?" And he's like, "Let's talk more about what's going on." Like, nah, dog, it's not the time for talking. But it's like I'm laying all this on the table because you have all of these characters where there's this like this sexual dynamic and there's this different kind of triangulation that's happening. Obviously, Penguin and Catwoman versus Batman, and then Batman and Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle versus Max Shrek, right? So you have that. But I think that the writer of this film, and I want to make sure I get my man's name right, Daniel Waters. I think Daniel Waters was actually saying that the audience is also repressed when it comes to trying to contextualize real sexuality in the comic book movie world. And that's why I think you don't see those no consummation in this film, even though there's so much sexual tension, there's never any resolution because the writer is saying, like, I know that you as an audience, y'all want to look but don't touch.
It's funny you say that because you're dealing with an individual, or rather, you're dealing with individuals who are not only traumatized, but they've also been subjugated to so much trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yes, all
So
three of
maybe
them.
that,
Yes, yeah,
so maybe that's why you don't see the consummation,
yeah.
why you see the look but don't touch,
Okay,
taste but don't
okay.
swallow. Um, you know, and you got to remember through this lens, sexuality is depicted as a intrinsic aspect of their identities, where it raises these questions of he's talking about like, hey, let's talk some more. Because he's not looking at her as a one night stand. If it was like that, I'm pretty sure he would have went on that king size bed in a heartbeat. Um, and and I
Ben
think,
Affleck's Batman would have.
oh yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
And that's the other thing too. Like we like as at well, good. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. Please
I'm just
continue.
saying, like, we talk about the evolution of the character. Like Batman's, like Ben Affleck's Batman, the first time you see him or second time, he's waking up in a random bed with a woman, bottles everywhere. And the audience of that time is ready to see their Batman be that way. They're ready to see their Bruce
Hmm.
Wayne be that way. Although,
You know,
and I admit, like, I don't think 1992 you want to see
that's
Bruce
what I was
Wayne be
about to
like
say.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that we're still coming. It's like almost like a coming of age moment. Which way you're going to go, left or right?
Hmm.
Is the audience prepared to see a Batman who drinks, knowing that from the source material, Batman doesn't drink?
Yeah.
Are we prepared to see a Batman that kills? Well, Michael Keaton
Yeah. He
threw
killed like
one of the
yeah.
famous, yeah,
He killed a
with the
bunch of
bomb.
people
I
in this
can't think
thing.
of the bald headed dude, but
Yeah.
he's a character
Yeah. He
actor
blew the
that you've
dude
seen
up
a
with the
lot.
bomb. Yeah. I
Yeah, he
watched.
blew
Yeah.
him up real quick.
We're gonna get to
So
that. Yep.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I think this is a transitional period for Batman. where the audience too is coming of age, where they're starting to accept, like, yeah, heroes kill.
Hmm.
Yeah, heroes have sex. Yes, there is some moral ambiguity going on here, that it's not just you good guys wear white, bad guys wear black. No, it's not like that.
Yeah.
And it's no surprise that during this era, Marvel starts really having major influence in dominating the comic book sphere with characters like the Punisher and Wolverine.
Hmm.
So, Batman, who is supposed to be, a creature of the night, or, I am vengeance.
Hmm.
He wears black, shifting away from that navy blue and yellow outfit to a black traditional uniform. It's not by happenstance or chance. You're dealing with societal norms being challenged. You're dealing with, the expression of sexuality being celebrated. Whereas once you had people being demonized for expressing themselves in a sexual manner, not condoning or condemning, but you notice the change where, you do have a liberational movement, if you will, in things like feminism, where females are starting to exert their sexuality and taking ownership. You have the advent of birth control, and more varieties of it, mind you, not just being confined to condoms, but also birth control pills and other contraceptives, like, what is it? Females use, and I'm trying to be very diplomatic about it, where they insert it in themselves.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Um,
I just want to talk about Batman. Like, you up on a whole nother tangent.
no, I'm
I'm
just trying to say
just-
there. All I'm saying is that these examples of these more commonly used contraceptive means, whether it be Plan B or abortion, which now allow or promote females to say, "Hey, you know what? I'm now in control of my body, so it's my body, my choice."
yeah. Okay. So the thing is, man, I think like the Batman Catwoman dynamic. It's in this film. It's in the what is it? The Dark Knight Rises is in it too, and even in that one, they kind of tone that down. Like they tone down
Hmm.
the sexual tension between them. And actually, that Bruce Wayne ends up with Catwoman, right? Like in a relationship, and they're happy and all that.
So think about that.
I think this particular version of it though, I like how they put this together because I think that I've never you said in the beginning like really Vicky Vale is kind of like Batman's first love. I've never been like a big fan of like Batman and Catwoman being together. So
Why?
in a
I
in a
prefer him
re,
with
re-
Wonder Woman, to be
yeah,
honest
in a
with you.
relational situation, I don't actually dig that. But I could see how two people like that might be like, yo, let's just have sex sometime with our masks on. Like I could see them getting there.
Hence why you have Felicia Hardy, Black Cat, and Spider Man.
Yes, which is a great yes. And I think and Joe, I'm so glad you brought that up because I think that the writers and you said like coming of age and I think it's true. I think as you're writing these stories, I think the growth happens for the audience and for the character when they get into these situations with female characters, right? And like you said, like Batman, he's got Vicky Vale, but then he's got Selena Kyle, and obviously Peter Parker's got Mary Jane, and he's Felicia Hardy, right? Like they want to give you the good girl, bad girl thing because
Hmm.
that kind of allows the character to grow. And I can see like why they put that character there. And I think the Catwoman character in the story is great. They should always put back. Maybe that's why there's always a Catwoman in these Batman movies.
Well, I mean, sex sells, man. We've been
Yeah.
saying it for the longest as a collective society.
Hmm.
We want that which we can't have, and I think Catwoman represents that. I think that Batman also represents, the whole id versus ego thing, where he's trying to remain in control. He's trying to remain resolute and focused on the mission, and the mission is to purify Gotham of all of its ills.
Yeah.
And one of those ills could be conceived as, sex, as, promiscuity, overindulgence, hedonism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All
Yeah.
those things. And I think that they're focusing solely on one because it also has biblical implications. Adam, Eve tempting Adam, the snake tempting Eve, the fruit from the taking the apple from the tree of knowledge and being aware. And what happens? Michelle Pfeiffer, once she crash lands from heaven out of the Garden of Eden back to earth, she feels pain. And one of the mandates that God said was that she would know pain, physical pain due to labor, and that Adam would know physical pain due to his labors of tilling the farm and such. And then you have her with this awakening. Well, same type of thing where she ate from the tree of knowledge. Now she's aware. Now
Hmm.
she knows of her sexuality. Now she knows of the evils that men are potentially able to create and bring forth.
Yeah. Yep. All right, man. Well, look, let's get into the cake, man. Yeah, it's a. I mean, like, it's a whole dissertation that could be done just on the whole
Oh
idea
yeah, no, this
of
is
the
definitely
sex
multifaceted.
in the film or the lack thereof. A lot, like like I was saying, like look but don't touch kind of thing, or show but don't touch or see or what. I
Yeah,
don't know.
the whole exploitation and the hypocrisy of it all, man. Definitely could go in forever. You know, you want the burning desire,
Hmm.
but yet you can't touch it.
Yeah, right. So, all right. So let me get into the cake, man. So the couple things that I liked, obviously, one of them was the Batman Catwoman dynamic. I like the Michelle Pfeiffer Michael Keaton interplay, and as you said, maybe because they had a previous relationship in real life, maybe that lended themselves towards
Oh
scenes
yeah,
that they did together. Yo, I love the Batman theme song, man. The
that's in the cartoon
I
too.
love that song. Like of all the movies, like that, the
Yeah,
way that that's constructed, that's one of my favorite things. I like Tim Burton's style. Tim Burton has got like a really quirky, different style, but
you're being generous.
I like it.
I know you're being
I
generous.
genuinely like that style. Yeah, because it's like it's he's got a style of directing and setting things up and look to it that everything that you see that he makes, you know that he made it.
Oh yeah,
It's very unique.
very
Like,
distinct.
yeah, like this, like Edward Scissorhands, like
Hmm.
uh Willy Wonka, like they have the Tim Burton style is just very, very unique. So I like
Nightmare. What was it?
Nightmare
Nightmare
Before
Halloween.
Christmas. Nightmare Before
Christmas.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a Art Deco pseudo realism kind of thing that I like that he does there. The bat symbol scene in the beginning when the bat symbol bounces off all the things and Bruce Wayne is just sitting there in the dark and everything. That's a meme now, like 100 times. But I just like it's just it's so overly dramatic that I just dig that. And then I liked the Catwoman and Bat and Penguin costumes. Like I liked that they didn't look like my frame of reference was more like the 1960s show in terms of like what it would look like in live action. So I liked the way they did that. So that's what my cake was, man. What you got on your cake?
Number one, the stars. Like you, I like Michelle Pfeiffer and
Yep.
Danny DeVito
Right.
as respectively Cat and the Penguin.
Yeah.
Catwoman representing her iconic balance of vulnerability, being menacing, and
Mm-hmm.
has that sharp intellect. Danny DeVito is the very bitter, pain-stricken, and manipulative individual. I like the complexity of both of these villains. They're both developed due to tragedy, and they're not one-dimensional.
No.
I love the strong thematic depth that they have. The film explores things such as identity, alienation, power, and social rejection. Um, they give it a very emotional and philosophical abundance and gravitas to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
The effective use of those symbols, the costumes, like I mentioned with Michelle's Pfeiffer's and Batman's, and even
Yep.
the Penguins, like you talked about, the setting, the characters, their arcs are visually reinforced. They're reinforcing these themes of the duality that exists within every one of us.
Mm-hmm.
We're not all one thing. The transformation, and then last but not least, I definitely like the character interactions. Like
Mm-hmm.
you,
Yeah.
like they have a very strong rapport, whether it be due to having a relationship outside of working together, but they're very drawn to each other. They have this emotional tension, and the narrative itself lends credence to all of that.
Yeah, I agree. And then I mean, if you put Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, Christopher Walken
Oh yeah.
in a room and you get the latitude that comic book movies allow where you can be a little bit more dramatic, you can be a little
Hmm.
bit you can ham it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think all of them really shined in that. So yeah, definitely, man. And I think this is the first time we did something with Christopher Walken in it, man. We need to do some more.
Surprisingly.
Right. We need to do some more things with Christopher Walken because he was definitely doing his thing in this one. So yeah,
And
that's
I definitely want to shout out the Penguins' parents, man. Diane Salinger, for one. Um, the other person who probably doesn't get as much for his dramatic roles. Shout out to Paul Rumens, aka Pee Wee Herman, man. Rest
yes,
in power. Yeah,
yes. We forgot about
yeah,
Pee Wee, man.
yeah,
Another
man.
dude in with some wild sex stuff too. So shout out to
Yeah.
that. Salute. All right. So anyway, All right. So the things I didn't like as much. All right. So I didn't like the Catwoman origin in this joint.
Really?
Because like I feel like it's the one supernatural kind of element that's in the film that doesn't nothing else is like it. And
Mm.
I understand like the you're doing something as a story element, but she gets pushed out a window, she falls to her death, she doesn't die, then she wakes up, she's like, I got 9 lives, and then she propels that through the rest of the story. I just didn't like that. I think there was maybe a different way, but fine. Comic book movie, it's fantastical. The Batmobile plot, that is one of the two really great tonal shifts in the film for me, where it's like it becomes like a joke, kind of, like the penguin and the Batmobile arcade thing. It just didn't fit with the
Yeah,
tone
no.
of the rest of the film. And then to the last quarter of the film, like when Penguin's like, all right, let's get the penguins out with the rockets on their back and we're gonna go and blow up like that. What was that? Like 1966, everyday Batman show, when I got home from school. And it just didn't fit the narrative and the depth that I thought they were really trying to hit for the rest of the film. So those tonal shifts kind of threw me off, and those are some things I didn't like about
Man, you're very kind today, man. I got a litany of things, but I would be
it.
remiss where you mentioned the supernatural aspect of
Hmm.
Catwoman's origin.
Hmm.
The first thing that goes down is that a bunch of cats
Liquor.
and Josie and yeah, they lick Josie and the
Pussycats, yeah.
cats. They lick her face in the mouth.
Hmm.
Now, if that's not talking about something, whether it be bestiality or sexual or
It's a lot of stuff
promiscuity,
in
whatever,
there, yeah. Well,
then they
there are
lick
bats, cats, and penguins trying to get with each other. The
and
whole
then they
thing is
lick her fingers.
the
You know what
whole
I'm
thing
saying?
is
And
yeah.
her eyes convulse as if
Yeah.
she's
Yeah. It's out there,
so it's
man. It's out there.
so I don't know if that's appropriate for children. So that's
No,
one of the
it's
things I
not.
had a problem with. The
Right.
aesthetic. I'm not a fan of Tim Burton's motif, his
Okay.
style. I think it's a little too weird for my
I
taste.
dig it.
Uh,
It is
I think
weird.
that
It is definitely weird.
yeah, I think there was too limited a focus on Batman. I don't think he was in it enough.
Yeah.
Just like I didn't think there was enough action of, Batman. This is one of the reasons why I did like Val Kilmer, Batman, because he was a little bit more acrobatic, forceful, fighting style,
Mm-hmm.
demonstrative. Um, the characterizations of the Penguin are very divisive. For like I mentioned, he's a little bit too grotesque with the whole blood dripping, biting off dude's nose, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not with it. The uneven pacing, as CJ
Yeah.
mentioned, sometimes it spends long stretches on the character mood and the symbolism rather than advancing the plot.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of the plot, the storyline is relatively simple in comparison to the characters themselves. Like they
Yeah.
just want political power. Okay. And Catwoman wants revenge. Okay. But I think that these characters who are so multifaceted would have a little bit more that they want other than revenge and power. But I guess again, everything boils down to money, power, and sex, as Locke told us. Um, Catwoman being underutilized in the last scene, I wasn't really with that. You built her all the way up to this, and then all of a sudden, it's like,
Yeah. The end of the movie falls apart. It does.
yeah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like CJ said, a lot of this stuff deals with the tonality of things. So, like for younger audiences, like I had mentioned earlier, some of these things are confusing, and then you're gonna have to spend time breaking it down, what's appropriate, what's age appropriate, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And these may be conversations that you're not permitted to or even yet ready to have with your children.
Yeah.
And then, as always, the studio, the money makers are always worried about money and getting in the way of creativity. And there's no balance into that. This was supposed to be a trilogy. It wasn't. Now all of a sudden you don't see where it's really supposed to finish off with as far as like the conclusion of Batman's arc as far as what he's going to do. Does it introduce Robin? What about Scarecrows and the other villains, the rogue gallery that Batman has? And then, last but not least, just the opening. CJ mentioned now that it's a meme, but you got Batman sitting there
In the
brooding,
dark.
and then all of a sudden you got the bat signal, and then
I
all of a
love
sudden it
that
shines.
scene, man. I like that. I like.
First of all,
It's so crazy that I like it. That's it's not. It does.
and that's why I don't understand why you like it. Because like if the bat signal is in the air and then all of a sudden it shines off of a bunch
I
of other
know.
mirrors
I
that
know.
somebody saw, you're gonna know that that dude's
I know.
Batman.
That's the point. It's so ridiculous.
Yes, and you said it,
It
ridiculous.
is, but I like it though, man. I like like how you say you can suspend reality for some things you're watching. Like
Yeah.
some things are cool for cool sake. Like that's just a cool shot to me. So
So what
that's
do they call it? Frame oring or aura framing?
or a farming.
Oh,
Yeah.
farming.
He's
Yeah.
definitely or farming in that one.
Well, there you go.
No question. Yo, all right.
Black turtleneck in the dark with the line cast on
Yep.
his good side.
Yep. So everything you said just gave me another question. So I got questions for
All
you
right.
now, but I got
Shoot.
this one. This is the first one I want to start off with. I'm gonna X out more than I'm gonna add this one. So
Okay.
you mentioned how the movie doesn't really focus on Batman a lot, which is true. I agree with you. But let me ask this question. Is the problem that Batman as a character is actually not as interesting as the villains that he faces?
Wow. Batman not as interesting. I don't think it's that he's not as interesting. I think that the depravity in which these act out is just like fascinating to the mind from a psychological standpoint. Like,
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that the
what are
definition
your
of being
motivations?
interesting?
No, not so more than him though, because it's like, yo, you have money, you have prestige, you
Hmm.
have the ability to do whatever you want. What would make you want to dress up? Your parents' death must really hit you like that. And most people, when their parents die, they're forced to really embrace their mortality,
Hmm.
probably prematurely. And he's known to say he hasn't been a kid since he was 8. So imagine, if you will, from age 9 to whatever age you are at that time,
Hmm.
constantly having to deal with death and being alone because he doesn't have any siblings,
Hmm.
and until the writers start messing things up, and then he might have a half
Hmm.
brother here and also. But essentially, Batman at his core is a loner. He's a child who is yearning and longing for his deceased parents, and I don't necessarily know that's less interesting than a bunch of crazy people who are crazy because they had one bad day.
But the thing with everything you just said, the character is so defined. Like
Mm.
Catwoman in this movie becomes Catwoman by falling out of a window. I don't know if that's real or not. I don't. It doesn't have to be bound by the comic book thing. Penguin becomes Penguin because he was born to some people. He ate their cat. They put him in the sewer. Right. That's different than the comic books. But Batman is always defined by everything that you said. There's so little room that you can do so much with all the other characters. Maybe that's the reason
Can
why
reinvent them.
they
Mm.
spend time. Like, look at the joint that just came out with the Batman. Like their Riddler completely
Yeah.
different than Jim Carrey's Riddler. Like those characters just lend themselves towards more variation in terms of their origin story and their motivations. I'm just saying that maybe that's the reason because you can't do a Batman where both of his parents are there. It wouldn't be the same character or be absolute Batman. Like you got
No, well,
now it'd be
that's
something
that's the
different.
part.
Yeah, you'd end up with someone
And
else like that.
yeah, you know what? And then that's a good point because, like you mentioned, there is absolute Batman. There is Luke. Excuse me, Jace. What's Jace Fox
Hmm.
is now a Batman. So like, because the origin story has been told so many times, they do have to make a total deviation to what he is. So
Yeah.
yeah, fair point.
Okay.
Fair
All
point.
right. Here's my next question, man. I already know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Oh, did Warner Brothers fumble the bag by not doing Batman Forever with Michael Keaton?
Easily,
So you would have
easily.
preferred Michael Keaton in Batman Forever as opposed to Val Kilmer.
No, no, I would prefer the Val Kilmer Batman Forever, but my exception would be they need a third Batman movie of Michael Keaton to
Okay.
redeem the last one because you leave on a sour note, and that's why people were hungering for Batman in Flashpoint
Yes.
and why he was so successful in that portrayal. Michael Keaton, that is.
Yes. And I got a Michael Keaton question. I'm gonna come back to you with in a second. All right. So Robin, so you mentioned I think we were talking about it in the pre-production. In this middle
Yeah,
film, Marlon Wayans was supposed to play Robin. I'm glad they actually didn't go that direction. But let me
likewise.
ask you this question. In today's world, right, modern 2025, is there a practical way to have a Robin in a live action Batman film?
Yeah, I think we've seen it with Teen Titans with Brayton Thwaite, or I'm
I know
probably
you're talking
butchering
about.
his last name. But yeah, we've seen it. I think that he would be a great Robin that they could have introduced before. I don't think that they had to introduce Chris. I can't think of his name
Mhm.
like they did, but I think that there's a way that they could have done this years ago. You're
Okay.
looking for someone who's about 5'10", 5'11", who's acrobatic, who's very athletic, black hair. Um, can be funny, witty, charming. These dudes come a dime a dozen. You know,
But,
you can get some hair dye.
but what about the
Get in the,
age part? Like the characterization you can get fine, but what about like the he's got to be a child part?
now that's the thing that I think a lot of people would have difficulty that they would wrestle with because it's a child.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so ages 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever. You know what I mean? That adolescence, preteen, um, they would have a problem with that. So you would have to increase the age
Mm-hmm.
in which he was doing it
Yeah.
so that some people could be comfortable.
Yeah.
So you'd have to make him late teens, you
Yeah.
know, 16, 17, 18,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere along there, where you could say, oh, he's on the cusp of manhood and this is his
Yeah.
rite of passage into manhood.
Yeah. Like the X-Men.
Yeah.
Younger like that. Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Catwoman. So we talked a lot about Catwoman. So there's been a
Hmm.
lot of movie Catwoman. There's Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, Halle Berry's Catwoman, what's it? Anne Hathaway's Catwoman,
Yeah. Garbage.
and and I just drew a blank on her name.
Kit or
Yeah.
Julie Lamar.
No. I'm talking about the movie, just the
Oh,
movie
okay. Just
ones.
the movie ones. Okay.
You know, it'll come to me in a second. But anyway,
Hmm.
yeah, I get that's probably not the one you're gonna go
Oh,
with.
you're
But
talking about Lisa Bonet's daughter.
yes,
Man, I can't think of her name right now.
who's the
Thanks. My
best?
apologies.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But who's the best Catwoman in film for you?
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle
It's not
Pfeiffer.
even.
Okay,
It's not even close to this point because one, um, oh Zoe,
Zoe
and the
Kravitz.
reason,
Yes. Hmm.
being is it's that one. She has this presence at that time that she could have carried a movie all by herself.
Hmm.
I think that Halle Berry gets an incomplete because she was done in by the lack of a good script. Like the movie, the premise itself was just straight rubbish. You know what I mean? Basura. Whereas with respect to Zoe, I don't know if her character was fully fleshed out either. Um, you know, you're left with her leaving Gotham, I guess, for Bloodhaven, but you know there's still no like, all right, she still has more to do. She's able to do that. Like her whole thing was about vengeance on Falcone, and you know that was kind of stripped from her by the Riddler.
Hmm.
And then you know with the other, and no disrespect to the other actresses, I'm not saying that they're not good actresses. They're just this role wasn't for them. Anne Hathaway as a cat burglar, this role was not for her. um you know, when I envision Catwoman, I'm thinking of someone who is sultry, who's seductive, who is able to tiptoe the line, who has moral ambiguity, but yet who can command the room, who can be with the socialites and is intelligent. I don't. This is not to say that they aren't, but I don't
Hmm.
think they all things simultaneously with just a look or a glance
Yeah.
or with a gesture.
So
It,
Michelle
it,
Pfeiffer is your pick.
yeah, I think she was the one who was able to accomplish it the most.
Okay. All right. So look, here's my this is my last question. Okay, so we talked about Michael Keaton and Michael Keaton being Batman, like old Batman, like Batman
Mhm.
Beyond, right? So if you were gonna fan cast Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker, and you had to put a live action Bruce Wayne, a live action Terry McGinnis slash Batman, and a live action Barbara Gordon and a live action Joker, who would you put in those roles?
Man, that's tough. All right, I'm really gonna have to think about this one. I know I'm under the clock. Well, first and foremost, I would definitely have to have Kevin Conroy as older Bruce Wayne. I think he did it in the WB series in the Arrow joint,
Hmm.
and his voice is world renowned,
Okay.
highly critically acclaimed, and at the age because all most rest in power, all due respect, like uh, due to age and also due to the illness, him having cancer, it portrayed a frailty to him
Hmm.
that you would need to have for an older Batman who's been
Okay.
through all those wars and all those battles and challenges.
Cool.
Um, wow, Terry McGinnis, man, that's a tough one
You
because
get.
I don't want like Glenn, what's his face, the guy who played in Top Gun with the
Glenn
blonde hair, and
Powell.
he's also in the Running Man. Yeah, Glenn Powell. Like his physique would be ideal for Terry McGinnis.
Hmm.
Um,
He's a little
but
too old, though, isn't he?
that's my point. He's too old.
Yeah.
Terry's supposed to be in high school,
Hmm.
so I don't know if you could give him that. And if it was done back in the day when they were younger, one of the Jonas Brothers could have been that dude. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Um, so that in itself, I don't know. I don't. But I will say this. I will say this.
Okay.
Just to backtrack, I like Jeremy Irons as an older Batman too, as like a
Okay.
substitute. So we
Okay.
could go. We could go with Kevin Conroy, Michael Keaton, and Jeremy Irons.
As people who could play future
As
Batman.
play. Oh yeah,
Okay.
future Batman.
All right. Cool.
Um, Now I'm gonna go to my notes. All right. I think you know what I'm gonna go with Tanner Buchanan.
Okay.
Um, or then alternate picks would be Dylan Minnette. Um, and then as far as Tim Drake,
Mm-hmm.
because he's older now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with who we saw in Last In and Craven, Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think that he could. I
Older
think he
guy.
could do.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I think he could do that. And then obviously, I would like to bring him back, and like this would be an homage to the audience. I'm gonna go with Joseph Gordon-Levitt as
as
as an alternate for
and
Tim
Drake.
Drake.
Okay. And then what
Uh,
about Barbara Gordon and the Joker?
oh man, one of your favorite actresses, yo. I'm doing you a solid. Jessica Chastain
I
as
would
Barbara
love that.
Gordon.
I would love
I
that.
know. I said
I would
one
love that.
of your favorite actresses,
Very
man.
happy with
And
that.
then I, as an alternate, you're gonna like this. Bryce Dallas Howard, even though she's a
Mm-hmm.
director
Kind of.
now.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
kind of favor each
that's
other
what I'm
some.
saying.
Yeah.
But Hollywood
Yeah.
does that. You know what I mean? They always got an alternate.
Yeah.
And then because I liked her in what's call it? What's the joint with Tom Cruise and he played and now the other guy plays him.
You're talking about
Is it
Jack Reacher.
yeah, Jack Reacher.
Mm-hmm.
The actress in that, Rosamund Pike.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. And Joker.
oh man, easy. Bill Skarsgård.
Great pick. Yes.
Yeah,
And
that dude.
please go check
And
out
then
Welcome to Derry when you get
yeah,
when you get a chance.
hey, I knew you guys hate. And then
Please go check
as
that
an
out.
alternate, I'm going with Willem Dafoe, one of my mom's favorite actors, as an alternate.
Yeah, he would be really good, man. All right, that's my
Yeah, so
questions, man. I got that for you. What you got
that
for
was
me?
a dope question. It was hard, man.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna lie, yo. So my questions are as follows: one, how come everyone is critical of Ben Affleck's Batman killing, but not Michael Keaton's?
I don't know, man. I think part of it is just the times. It's weird. Like I think there's I was looking at this thing where someone was talking about Steve Rogers coming back as Captain America,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
And at the person's point, and it was somebody on Threads, and shout out to whoever who made this comment, but it's like if you bring Steve Rogers back, people are like, "Oh, that's an insult to Sam Wilson." If you
I
keep
don't know.
Sam Wilson, I'm just saying, I don't think it is, but they're like saying,
Mhm.
"Oh," but you're saying, "Oh, well, if you keep Sam Wilson, then it's that's not the real Captain America." And basically, they're saying like,
Oh,
basically, their premise is like it's hard to satisfy comic book audiences. And I think
yeah.
like the Batman thing, it's just hard to satisfy comic book audiences. Like we said, Michael Keaton killed like 3 or 4 people in this
That I
film.
know of. Yeah,
Right.
with a
In this
bomb.
movie, he absolutely did. And in the first one, he was shooting, bullets at people with the bat plane and everything. He was doing all kinds of stuff, right? That was like everybody let it go. But in Batman and Superman, when Batman is shooting people with the guns and everything, everybody like, oh, Batman doesn't kill. I don't know, man. I don't think that you can really solve for that. You can't appease everyone. And part of it, I think, gets back to the idea of this Batman idea is so well defined as a character that if you like, it's almost like a box. If you step a little bit outside of it, you offend people.
Mm.
If you stay too much in it, then you bore people. So I don't know what you can do with that.
I mean, like Batman literally turns his car around and sets dude on
It
fire.
really does. He kills a bunch of people in this film, but you don't really
Yeah.
think about it because
No.
it's like whatever. But modern audiences are just different when it comes to that.
How does Batman Returns use its villains to reflect Gotham City's moral and social failures rather than presenting them as purely evil figures?
Yeah, I mean, so every villain in Gotham City is like a reflection of a problem within the city, right? So, like you said, Selena Kyle is this woman who is treated like a child and very marginalized by society. So she has to strike out as Catwoman to get the not attention, but to really get the presence that she should have in her normal everyday life, right? The Penguin is representative of all the orphans, all the people that were put up for adoption, all the people that their families let them go because they didn't fit the idea of what they thought the family should be about, right? So you resonate with him with that, like the what is it? The Riddler failed scientist, like,
Mhm.
you don't invest in the right products or the right people, and then they go crazy, or Harvey Dent and the law is two-sided. He's like there's a lot of great allegory that's within the Batman villains themselves, which I think is one of the things that makes the character Batman interesting. Like, we've said before, Batman and Spider-Man have the best villains gallery, in my opinion, in terms of
Mhm.
who they have and like the
Hands down.
variation of those things. So I think that's what it is. And then when you put that in like try to put that on film in like a real world kind of thing, they become more interesting.
How does the relationship between Batman and Catwoman complicate the film's moral boundaries between hero and villain?
Yeah, I love that, man. Because the thing is, like, Catwoman is like the thing that makes Batman feel more, to me, more like a regular dude.
Mm.
Because it's like he wouldn't give any of his other villains the leeway and space that he gives
Yeah.
Catwoman, right? But he gives it to Catwoman because he likes her, because he sees something good in her that he doesn't necessarily see in, like, Two Face or Bane or something like that. And it's like that's a necessary part of moving the story along. She's like, Black Cat is a copy of Catwoman
Mhm.
for that. And then she does the same thing for Spider-Man. She gives his character some more depth that I think the character needs. So that's why it's important. I like that they did it. And I like the interaction in this movie is my most favorite Batman Catwoman thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. Why has Batman Returns grown in critical appreciation over time despite its controversial reception at the time of its release?
Because I think when you go back and you watch it now, you can see a vision for what it's trying to talk about, like what it's
Mm.
talking about in terms of the society at the time. The just staging the movie at Christmas in and of itself is intentional,
Yeah.
right? And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's like it's a movie that ages well because of the things that it kind of talks about, and the performances are great. They're not they're like extreme, but not so over the top that they become like comedy. And this movie is like very different from the next two that come after it, which kind of
Yeah.
decline in quality. And it's kind of alongside that first one, which is the best of the four. I'll give it that. But this one is a lot closer when you watch it with older eyes.
And then finally, what does the film ultimately suggest about whether Gotham and its inhabitants can ever truly be saved?
No one should live in Gotham City. I don't want to hear that. No one should. No one. No, you can't do it. No. When you can get killed by the Penguin, or the Riddler, or the Joker, or Killer Croc. Like, you need to move. Everybody needs to move out. They should be condemned, that joint. They should call Superman. Let Superman come and laser everything and everybody, lay waste to the whole city, and start over from scratch. That's not
All
my
right, man.
hot. That's not my hot take, but it should be.
No, but it should be. What you got with the popcorn, man?
Yo, so this gosh, if they would have really continued with the story kind of the way that it was going, it probably would have gotten around a little bit more than this. But I'm gonna give it a 4 boxes. I enjoyed watching it until like really the last 20 minutes, where it just kind of fell off a cliff. But up until then, I was like popcorning it up, like, yo, this is interesting. What you got on it, man?
I was gonna go with 3.5, but as we talked about it, I'm going down to three.
Okay. Dropped it
It was,
down. Wow.
yeah, I dropped
I
it
think
down.
that's the first time that happened,
It
man.
is, it is.
Usually it goes up the more we're
I go
talking
up, yeah.
about.
No, but as we kept talking about it, I'm like, yo, I'm pretty lenient with a lot of things,
Mhm,
tolerant on some things,
mhm.
but this movie made me really start thinking like, man, I'm glad I didn't have kids in 92, 93 because couldn't bring them to see this, man.
Your
Batman
sensibility,
sliding down a slide into a cave
your
of
adult,
darkness,
your
like,
your adult sensibilities
yeah,
kicked in, man. I
yeah,
got you.
my, yeah. I started adult and parenting in my
Right,
head
I
while
got you.
watching this movie.
I got you. So it could drop down to 3. Okay, cool. Well, it's still
Yeah,
in there. It's still in the joint. Okay,
no, it's still something that everybody should watch, though.
yo, it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
This is a Christmas movie. All right. So look. So here's my hot take on this, man. So we talked about the sexuality part in the beginning. I also think that this movie is not so subtle attack on like class warfare. So
Mm.
you think about like the main struggle in this movie is between Batman, Bruce Wayne, who's a millionaire, Max Shrek, who's a millionaire, and Oswald Cobblepot, who comes from money, right? And they're moving and changing things. They each have a vision for the city, right?
Mm.
And they are in control of it, right? Batman's is like a justice one, so it's cool. Cobblepot
Mm.
wants control. Shrek wants all the power. the people are caught in the middle, right? And it's like really the movie is about these characters battling each other for who's going to control how all the rest of the regular citizens get to live and breathe, right? It's set at Christmas time, one of the most capitalist times of the whole year, right? Catwoman blows up a Shrek's department store, which is like a referendum on,
Consumerism, capitalism.
consumerism and all of that, right? The fact that like so much happens at the Christmas tree, the ice princess gets pushed off into the Christmas tree and lights it up and everything. Oswald Cobblepot has signs that say Oswald means order. Like just
Mm,
this idea of what happens. Yeah,
1984ish.
but what happens in a society when the people that are controlling it are also wealthy, right?
Mm.
The super rich, the oligarchs,
Oligarchies.
right? The oligarchs, they get to decide what becomes justice or what
Mm.
becomes right and wrong in that society. And yes, in the end, Batman's version of it wins. But I think the question is like, should all Gotham City be really controlled by these rich people who have the
Mm.
ability to decide like who lives and dies and how many people live or die based on their own interpersonal ideological conflicts? So that's what I
Wow.
think the joint's
And
about.
you got all that out of Batman.
Right. All
Okay.
that Batman Returns, man. This is why I said it aged well for me, man.
No, it does. No, and there's validity to that, man. I can't deny it. We got jokes or whatever, but nah, I see it very clearly. There's a lot going on there. And I second that. I think that this movie was ahead of its time, and
Mm-hmm.
if it was released today, it would probably be more accepted.
I agree.
Because Batman draws upon the Batman, where it's very dark and modern, and audiences appear to be more receptive to that type of style.
Yep.
It's character driven, just the same thing, and rather than it being bright spectacles and blockbusters of that ilk, it really draws within about the ambiguity, the complexity, and just the grittiness of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And then Deadpool has that sense of humor. Audiences want dark humor. They want rated R type superhero movies. They want to see how comfortable subversion is with the audience. The protagonists are messy. They're not like clear cut, clean individuals. They do drink, they do smoke, they do have sex, they do
Mm-hmm.
things that could be borderline hedonistic. You have someone like Selena who is rejecting of all of Bruce Wayne's rigidity, and we just commented on how much we liked her as a character and the things that were displayed. There's a reason why people liked Old Man Logan. He's struggling with the inability to connect with others like Bruce Wayne, and his inability to connect and have a healthy relationship with anyone from an emotional standpoint, let alone anything else. The isolation, the code that they live by. There's a lot of self-imposed differences and distances that complicate just interacting. They wouldn't be able to do a podcast. And then you have the Hush series, the comic book and the animated joint, where Selena just outright tells him, like, yo, I was willing to change all the way for you, and I was going to do so much more, but your code will get you killed and could hurt others in the crosshairs.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't live by that. And the comic itself is like a critique on just the harshness of being explicit and the realities that come with the day-to-day living with the superhero. She saw the scars on his back because she inflicted them on him. She's like, wow, you really have gone
Mm-hmm.
through some stuff. I put you through some stuff.
Mm-hmm. You're talking
And
about
now,
in the Hush comic book
yeah,
series.
in the Hush comic and the anime where she's saying that. And now when you juxtapose that with Batman, you can see like when they're on the couch and she touches him where she stuck him with the thing, and
Mm-hmm.
he cringes and he tries to move her hand away. He lifts up her arm, and then she sees the scar that festered and bubbled, the scar tissue there. So like they're like, oh, we've hurt each other mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. How do we get with that? She even says before the floor blows up, she says like, so what do we do now? Do we go outside and start fighting? Like they don't even know how to navigate a healthy relationship. And then things like Batman's emotional weaknesses and his trauma alone. That belief in the moral purity requires some emotional distance. That's not even capable. No human is capable to be like that. Even monks. It's the reason why you hear all these stories about different religious figures succumbing to certain vices, because no one can be held to that type of platform because of the frailties that just exist within humanity. And then you have things like the display of rejection and the idea of the clean hero being emanated and reiterated in Spider-Man No Way Home, Avengers Infinity War, and the groundwork, like I mentioned, of the darkness being in the Joker, which we did, and Joker Folie et Deux, we did that. And you see how like that changes and how someone can literally go insane because of the darkness. And then last but not least, one of my favorite subject matters, why it was so critically acclaimed, is the subsequent gritty takes shown in The Dark Knight, the 2008 version, where you have literally Nolan showing the frustration that leads to individuals succumbing to the darkness and wanting outright chaos in order to breed something anew, whether it be Ra's al Ghul, whether it be Bane, or even Batman himself starting over and wanting a different type of ending and a different type of survival. So
There it
that's what I
is.
got.
There it is. And there it is, man. So look, that's concluding our review of Batman Returns. That's our last Christmas film for this year. We got one more show left in 2025. We are going to do a 2025 recap show. So if you've been with the show for a while, you know every year we close out kind of with some questions about some of the movies that we've seen in the last year and how we rank them and what are the things that we learned from them and so on and so forth. So it's going to be a little bit of a different show next week, but we still want you to check it out. Once again, Sticky Floors Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify Podcasts, we're on YouTube Podcasts. We want you to like, subscribe, and share so that you can get our drops, the whole videos and the clips as they come out. We are also on X. We are also on Threads. We're also on Facebook. So if you want to continue the conversation about movies, we're here for that as well. We will see you next week. Peace.